Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. My reading week this week has been okay, although there have been more disappointments than enjoyments. Let's get started. So, the first thing I read for this reading week was 6 volumes of Bleach by Tite Kubo, volumes 55 to 60. Bleach is one of the great manga series, one of the most popular manga series. It's about a young man named Eiichiro Kurosaki who can see and interact with spirits. One day he meets Urukia Kochiki, a young woman who is a Shinigami, a soul reaper. Her duties are to transition the souls of the newly departed to the Soul Society, where they will live until they are reincarnated in the world of the living, and to purify hollows, fallen, corrupted spirits that have lingered in the world of the living too long and have become monsters. One of these hollows has come to the Kurosaki clinic, attracted by the spiritual energy of the Kurosaki family. While Rukia is fighting the hollow, she is wounded, and to defeat the hollow, she transfers her Soul Reaper abilities to Ichigo. This transforms him into a temporary Soul Reaper, and he defeats the hollow. However, when Rukia tries to reclaim her powers, they don't come back. And Ichigo must stand in Rukia's stead as the Shinigami assigned to patrol Karakura Town, a fictional suburb of, or neighborhood of Tokyo that is the primary living world setting of Bleach. Over the course of many adventures, Ichigo comes into his own Soul Reaper abilities and basically goes on a number of adventures within Soul Society as well as Hueco Mundo, the world of the Hollows. So, Bleach is composed of 3 major story arcs. The first lasts for the first 48 volumes and deals with Ichigo's conflict with a renegade Shinigami named Suzuki Aizen, who wishes to overthrow Soul Society. The second is a 6-volume bridge arc that bridges the conflict with Aizen and the arc that takes up the last 20 volumes, 55 to 74, which this volume that I'm holding is the beginning of. So in this final arc, a new threat, or an old threat, returns to plague Soul Society. So, in Bleach, there are a number of species. Of course, there are humans, some of whom are spiritually aware. There are also the Shinigami, who are spirits, either of deceased humans or they're born in Soul Society, who can develop spiritual abilities and act as Shinigami. There are also hollows, who are the fallen corrupted spirits who can eventually, and through amounts of cannibalism, become humanoid beings called Arankars, who are rather similar to Soul Reapers. And then there are the Quincy's. Quincy's are humans who have the ability to draw in the natural spiritual energy and forge spirit arrows that are capable of destroying spirits, and they use this to destroy hollows. Now, when a Soul Reaper, a Shinigami, purifies a hollow, that hollow is sent to Soul Society, unless it's particularly evil, in which case it is then sent to hell. But when a Quincy destroys a hollow, there is nothing left. That spirit ceases to exist. And this upends the balance of the universe and caused centuries before the series began a conflict between the Shinigami and the Quincy's that saw most of the Quincy's eradicated. However, there seems to have been a war much earlier between the Soul Reapers and the Quincy's that led to the foundation of Soul Society as it is. And the continuation of that war is the primary focus of the final arc, the 1,000-Year Blood War, in which the Quincy's come back and invade Soul Society. And Ichigo is one of the few who are capable of standing up against the Quincy's, because the Quincy's have developed a method of stealing one of the most potent weapons of the Shinigami, their Bankai. And they can't do that to Ichigo. And so a lot of this arc, and particularly the volumes that I read, explore in more depth Ichigo's background. And it is very fascinating. I rather enjoyed these 6 volumes, although it did take me a little bit to get into it, I will admit. Okay, let me put you over here. So I read those 6 volumes of Bleach on Sunday. In between going over to my, or bookending and going over to my brother's to spend Easter with the 4 children of the apocalypse and the demon toddler, my nieces and nephews. Even though basically all we did was watch War play Resident Evil 4. And surprisingly, he's quite good at it. Okay. Anyway, so on Monday, and I had planned for the rest of this reading week to read 4 Queens, the Provençal Sisters Who Ruled Europe by Nancy Goldstone. This is a history that deals with the 4 daughters of Raymond V Berenger, the Count of Provence, in the mid-13th century. This book killed whatever return to favor history had in the court of James. So this book is about these 4 young noblewomen from a relatively weak and poor fief of the Holy Roman Empire, even though Provence is now part of France and has been part of France for centuries. So, in the mid-13th century, there were a number of conflicts. There was conflicts between France and England. There was conflicts between the French crown and the powerful nobles that controlled usually more territory than the French king did. And there was a religious conflict in the south of what is now France, in the Languedoc region. Also, of course, there were the periodic crusades to the Near East. So, the Count of Provence managed to get his daughter married to the King Louis IX. And as part of, basically, Goldstone argues the rationale being that this marriage would be a block on the ambitions of the Count of Toulouse, who was one of the thorns in the side of King Louis IX. The second daughter, so this would have been Margaret. The second daughter, or Marguerite, the second daughter, Eleanor, would become Queen of England as the wife of Henry III. Her sister Sansia, or their sister Sansia, then became the wife of Henry III's younger brother, Richard, who would go on to become Holy Roman Emperor for a brief period of time. And then the fourth daughter Beatrice, who would become Countess of Provence in her own right, married the younger brother of King Louis IX, Charles, who would become Charles I of Sicily. So, Goldstone opens this narrative with a look at Provence. And this is where the troubles with this book began. Goldstone presents Provence as a land of troubadours and emphasizes the importance of the troubadours. In the second chapter, she looks at Blanche of Castile, who was the mother of Louis IX and the cousin of Henry III. Blanche's husband, Louis VIII, in fact, invaded England towards the end of King John's reign to sort of promote her claims to the throne over those of King John and the eventual King Henry III. So I just did not get on with this book at all. The writing, how Goldstone presents the material, it did not work with me at all. I just really did not like this book at all. So it will likely be going somewhere at some point, although I might give Goldstone a second chance because I do have another book by her. So I might read that later on in the year. And if I don't like that one, then they will both at some point go away. Maybe. So I bailed on Four Queens, and I read on Tuesday and Wednesday 2 slim volumes of poetry. Two of the 2 slim volumes of poetry I recently hauled. On Tuesday, I read Something About Living by Lena, Khalaf, Tuffaha. This slim volume of poetry won the National Book Award last year, and is quite good. Although of the 3 shortlisted books or finalists from last year, this is probably, I would have picked a different one. But I still liked it. It's quite good. I also really like Bees and After by John Liles. This is a really interesting collection. It focuses on science, and it is really good and quite challenging as well. I quite liked it. So then yesterday and today I read 5 volumes of Sakamoto Days, volumes 11 through 15 by Yuto Suzuki. So Sakamoto Days is set in a world in which assassinations is a very popular career. And the series is about a retired hitman named Taro Sakamoto who fell in love, got out of the assassination business, and opened up a convenience store. One day, he discovers that a bounty has been placed on his head, and he gets back into the assassination business to figure out who put this bounty on his head, and alongside a number of people he meet along the way, including a psychic named Shin, a triad princess named Lu, an assassin who specializes in sniping named Heisuke, and a whole host of others, including his weird friend Nagumo, who is a delight to read when he appears. So these volumes start with the conclusion of an arc in which Sakamoto and Shin infiltrate a school dedicated to training assassins. Because the main antagonist of the series so far, individual called X, has sent infiltrators to assassinate or to find and destroy the database that knows his secrets. and there's a fight, and the X's agents are seen off. And then Sakamoto reveals what happened. What turned X into the man he was, and how Sakamoto and Nagumo entered the Order, an elite group of assassins who have a regulatory authority over the rest of the assassination world. And then the group go to Thailand to try to rescue 2 young assassin students who have been kidnapped, as well as another student who left to track down X so that she can gain revenge for her aunt. And then there's another arc that begins in 15 and then goes into 16 and beyond, where Sakamoto and company try to prevent the assassination of the head of the JAA. So I like these volumes, but given that I did not read volume 16, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, I think. I think that's the best I can say. So, what I want to do this weekend is I'd initially thought about, well, obviously I was going to do Sakamoto Days and Twin Star Exorcists. But I was thinking, well, maybe I could do 6 more volumes of Bleach because I recently hauled them. And then Twin Star Exorcists on Sunday. But I started to think, well, maybe what I could do is, when I get the final 6 volumes of Bleach, I can just read all of it over the course of a weekend. Read 7 volumes on Saturday, 7 volumes on Sunday, and that would be that. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. So I think what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to have it out with Dan Jones and his book Crusaders, an epic history of the wars for the Holy Land. I've been meaning to read Dan Jones for a while, and I keep putting it off, so I'll finally have it out with him. And if things go well, I will probably conclude April with Dan Jones and then something else the final few days of April. If things don't go well, I'll probably read one of the new collected or selected poetry collections I hauled, or something else, and then read some volumes of One Piece Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so they would be volumes 25 through 33. Or I might read something else. I don't know. I will report back this coming weekly reads, and I will also have on May 1st my May reading plan. So look forward to that. And then hopefully I can do a few more videos as well. But that's it for this week. So until I see you next week, thank you. Have a great evening and weekend, and stay safe.